Rayclast is a cursed land. You'd have to be mad to settle here.
Hi, Zizaran here with another video, and this is now going to be a regularly uploaded league mechanic video. There's a lot of people coming each league and not knowing specific league mechanics. What we're going to do is turn this into a very modular video that we upload every single league, and we'll make sure that this video is always up to date for the new mechanic and the tips for that league. That should actually be pretty easy to update, and you will always have the most up-to-date information on how the league works. Now, this video is never going to cover the current league mechanic. They will always have a separate video because that is going to be a larger thing. So this is more of a TLDR of every league mechanic that isn't the main one. We are also not going to be covering Master Missions and Shaper, Elder Influence, as they are not league mechanics. Now, keep in mind that currently in Path of Exile, pretty much every league mechanic is worth it if you're investing into it and focusing on it. So the number one mistake people do is try to do too many things at once, making all of them not very profitable. And whenever we talk about investing into something, that can mean having a specific atlas tree or using scarabs. That being said, remember the number one important thing is to have fun with the game, and if you're not having fun, you are playing the game wrong. And a quick little tip before I begin, generally you'll see that I will never be doing a league mechanic past day 1 if I haven't specialized into it. So right now when I'm mapping into tier 16s, since I haven't specialized in Legion, I'm not doing Legion. I have no Legion points, so I'm ignoring it. Same with Ritual, same with Expedition, quite often with Harvest, but not always. And I'll also try to include that a little bit in each section about whether this is something that is worth doing when you see it, even if you don't have any points. And this video is sponsored by Boot.Dev. I don't normally do mid-rolls, but this is a really good way to learn programming from scratch in a gamified method. So you can learn programming languages like Python or C# from scratch. And it was recommended by loads of you already in my community. Boot.Dev offers a 30-day money-back guarantees if you're not happy with the product. That is an option you can explore. So if you want to learn how to program and make cool features such as Path of Building, maybe not this feature here. I study computer science myself, not exactly using my degree, but this is a really cool way to learn. It gamifies programming and makes it very, very different from what might be a difficult way to learn and turns it into a full way to learn. There's also a free demo of every course and their interactive features. So maybe this looks like a more fun way to learn programming, start gamifying it, and start learning. So click the link in the description of this video and use code Zizaran to get 25% off your first membership for Boot.Dev. So 25% off the first month or first year. It's up to you. So first, let's start out with Abyss. So when you step on the green crack on the floor, monsters from the depths of the earth are going to start crawling out and murder you. And you should kill them instead. And this mechanic has a bit of a timer, so if you're not killing the monsters fast enough, it can expire. When you reach the end, 3 things can happen. You get a reward chest, an Abyssal Spire can spawn, which gives better rewards, and more rarely, which is only available at higher levels, you'll get access to an Abyssal Depths to fight a Lich, which will guarantee an Abyss unique. Now, this is not super worth investing into as a beginner. It is also not super worth to do without having specialized in it. Honestly, for me, a bit of a skip. Now, doing it early league to get a Stygian belt can be okay, but generally, getting Stygian belts is pretty easy anyway. If you really want a high level one, I'd recommend just using Abyss Scarabs on a high level map later, and very often you will get the belts. Next up we have Ambush. These Strongboxes that appear on your map, you click them and monsters come out and you kill them, and then the loot will drop. You gotta be really careful of Detonate Dead and Ice Nova, so they very often will one-shot you. Remember that you can roll the Strongboxes as well with currency. You can also pay attention to a whirring high-pitched sound that telegraphs the box, and it's very dangerous when you open it. Now, this is super worth investing into, both with high and low investment, like actually only having the nodes on your atlas tree, really, really nice. I think I have that in nearly all of my atlas trees this league, and this is in 325 Kalguur. Actually, with using scarabs and stuff, it just adds so many monsters and stuff to your map. Really good investment. It's just very, very fast to do. Speed can be very important for how valuable a mechanic is. Anarchy, also known as Rogue Exiles, these are unique monsters that will always drop a full set of gear, because they're us. They can actually be kind of strong, especially in higher tier maps, and there are some nodes where you will get loads of these on your atlas. These are farmed particularly on solo self-found to try to get uniques that aren't super rare, You use some rarity gear, and yeah, they'll drop decent stuff, but they are not super worth it. A little bit C tier. Very rarely do I invest into this. Next up, we have Bestiary. Einar is a funny dude that'll show up and join you in capturing some dangerous and tanky beasts. The beasts then go into your personal zoo, which you can teleport into. And in the menagerie, you can sacrifice these poor beasts in the special crafting, and without going into too much details, you can create uniques, link items, get cheaper metacrafting mods, and much more, like swap awakened gems as well. And you can sell these, and some of them are really valuable. This is, in 3.25, a very good mechanic to invest into. They have added some beasts from the Atlas Memories, which is a rare drop, and honestly, there were like 2 or 3 divine each. They have taken some of the beasts from this and added as rare drops to Einar. So there will be things like reroll awaken gem, etc. I am not exactly sure of a full list of what has been made a normal beast, but either way they are rare. You also have the Black Morrigan, which will give 6 things and other valuable crafts. They can be pretty dangerous, so you will have to have a solid build for fighting these, but it's a very, very good thing. They drop okay stuff, and they aren't slowing you down a lot, which I value a lot. Very A tier. Next up, we have Betrayal, and you might have seen the red lines between everything and become very confused. This, of course, requires its own involved video. It is very complicated and probably the most complicated mechanic in Path of Exile. In short, you kill the Syndicate members in different divisions. This will provide you with intelligence and loot upon death, and they have different rewards depending on which of the areas they end up in. This league, the Betrayal board matters very little. The only person that has a good reward is Curvaceous on transportation. Other than that, it is mostly whatever. You don't really need to care what any of them give anywhere. So what you can do to speedrun is to click execute every time to speedrun it to get enough intelligence to fight Katarina in search of Veiled Orbs. Now, as a new player, I would recommend just killing these whenever you see them, unveiling the gear so you get the crafts, and once you're noticing that you're not finding any new crafts, probably just stop and ignore them. Next up, we have Beyond. Killing monsters closely packed together will summon demons from another world, and these difficult monsters drop their own tainted currency, which is very useful, especially the tainted fusing, which can take an item from a 5 link to a 6 link. Now, this is not generally great on its own. It's used very much in endgame farming, like farming for divination cards, and it's paired with things like Breach or Ambush, Domination, anything that makes a lot of monsters that are tightly packed together. Harbinger as well can be pretty good for this. It's pretty F tier for beginners because without very large density and more investment, it is not going to be very good, but this is the S tier league farming mechanic that you will see most of the veteran players will be farming at the endgame. Next up, we have Blight, which is tower defense in Path of Exile. Cassia is going to yell at you and build towers to defend the main pustule. Now, some monsters will have resistances or immunities. So if you see like a cold symbol inside of the thing, that means that they're resistant or immune to cold towers. However, that doesn't mean if you're a cold damage build that you can't do anything to them. These will drop oils, currency, blighted, and ravaged maps, and they're like the reward that you're looking for. Now, some quick tips is that you can anoint your rings to make them a lot stronger and make the tower stronger. We do have separate videos for Blight as well, but very, very worth mechanic to invest into at the moment. Definitely want to research more. It is very slow, so it does not pair well with things like Essence that require you to map fast. But honestly, I have it in at least 2 of my atlases this league, and it is incredibly valuable, especially the node that lets rewards be opened multiple times. Next up, we have Breach. It is very easy to understand. You run through the circle, and that spawns loads of monsters, and you kill them. Now, you do not longer have to click the clasped hands, you just walk over them as well. Once you have 100 splinters, you can go to the domain of the Breach Lord, fight them, and witness them for the Maven kill for eventually doing your hidden invitation. Now, this will require quite a strong build. The density can be very overwhelming, especially if you're something like a strike build, so be careful. But it is very good for XP, and it's good for divination card farming, etc. Very good with Beyond, and honestly, just really good in general. I have it for Settlers of Kalguur, and it's giving me a good amount of gold and experience, and it just, yeah, it's very fast to do. Delirium is the pinnacle of endgame farming, and walking through the mirror at the start of the map causes you to spawn monsters that progressively get stronger the further away from the mirror you get. This will build rewards up and give you a loot explosion once it ends. You can also force your map to be delirious by using a Delirium Orb. Now in these, the Delirium never ends and rewards are dropped progressively as you hit each tier instead of at the end in a big explosion. This really puts your build to the test. It ramps up both tankiness and the damage requirements quite a lot. Extremely rewarding, it synergizes with most mechanics, and it is really good at both low and high investment. If your build is strong enough, running a map with a single fine Delirium orb with currency rewards is honestly a bit of a no-brainer, adds a ton of currency over time, and even just putting in one of any Delirium orb will also give you a random reward. Whereas if you have 3 Delirium orbs, you're still only getting 1 random reward. So 1 Delirium orb, very nice. C tier for beginners and absolutely S tier for endgame builds. Next up, we have Delve. Gathering Sulfide in your maps will power up the cart that lights the way to the Azurite mine. This is an infinitely scaling side mode and it has unique rewards. In the mine, you find exclusive mods on items, fossils, and resonators to craft with. This is basically build your own crafting currency. It is not always the most profitable mechanic. Sometimes there will be very few people running Delve, and then it can be very profitable, so try to feel around the market. If you see that there are nobody selling fossils, it can be extremely profitable and you'll fill that gap in the economy. This is a bit B or C tier, but honestly can be a lot of fun if you like that type of playstyle, and it's really good XP, and there's interesting bosses in Delve as well. Does require a fairly strong build. Next up we have Domination. This spawns shrines that are extra packs of monsters and give you buffs. Investing into them is incredibly fun and just adds a lot of monsters to kill. These also drop maps, so they're really good to have in general. I have them on the majority of my atlases, and the buffs can be really good. Getting an Acceleration Shrine or an Echoing Shrine can make the map so smooth, and with the nodes on the atlas tree, it'll make them last for pretty much the entire map. Absolutely A tier and just a really good thing to do. Now, Essence is probably my favorite mechanic and the one I recommend the most. You'll find crystallized monsters, you click them 3 times, so a strongbox basically, there you have to click 3 times, and killing them gives you very useful crafting currency that'll guarantee 1 stat on an item, and the others will roll normally. These are insanely dangerous and, especially on hardcore, often skipped at tier 16 maps. However, you can actually do this in tier 6 maps for the full reward. They're okay to click without investing. However, with investing, spamming tier 6 maps is incredibly profitable. Where pretty much every league, a large amount of my community members, this is actually how they farm a mage blood. They just stay in tier 6 maps and spam them, which makes it incredibly fast to run through and kill the different essence monster. Things like Deafening Envies and stuff can be 12C each. So you might end up finding like 50 to 200 chaos worth of essences in the map. Even just like investing into this with using the Essence Map Device craft is very good, but Scarabs will take it to the next level. Absolutely S tier mechanic. You can craft your own gear so easily with this. Expedition is another king of early game league mechanics. Especially if you don't know what items are worth and enjoy trading with other players, Expedition can just be so profitable because Tuyen just gives you loads of raw currency.
You're pushing pleasure doing business with you. Always love these exotic coins. Pleasure doing business with you. Be reasonable. Suppose I'm feeling generous. We're fun. It'll do.
Rug will also help you craft items, although this can be a little bit complicated. It's not too hard to get the hang of. He basically will give you loads of different choices of what you want to upgrade. So you choose a base type that you like a ring, or even jewels can be really good to craft with this. Start crafting and hopefully he gives you something nice. Gwenin is mostly used for base types. She basically sells you any base that has a unique item and it has a chance to be a unique item, so you could get a mage blood, however she's not in a super good state. Danig provides further relics and logbooks. Logbooks are basically special maps that you go into to fight a big expedition, and this will give you both a lot of the currency to reroll as well as the currency needed to buy things. They have recently added a node where you explode the entire expedition in a map at once, and honestly this makes it a lot more livable. Do be careful to avoid like the immune to physical, etc., as some of these will break your build entirely. Next up we have Harbinger, and these blue space dudes spawn a stream of monsters and will reward you with exclusive currency like Annulment Orbs, Ancient Orbs, and Fracturing Orbs. Very easy and simple to get into, and really rewards your build if it's able to just not be affected by proxy shields. So Toxic Rain, Essence Rain, anything that goes through proximity shields is very good for this, even if the build's not usually very good right now in 325 at least. This is not the best mechanic to just have on without any specialization, but honestly it's close to S tier if you're fully investing into it with scarabs and a tree. Harvest is the bread and butter of early to mid game crafting. It's a very important pillar of late game crafting. So the portal to the grove will spawn multiple pairs of plots, and picking up the plot with the biggest number of blue monsters yield the most juice. We're not talking about the color of the field itself, which can be yellow, purple, or blue. We're talking about the name of the monster. If the name of the monster is blue, they're guaranteed to drop like 50 to 100, even more if it's high quantity on the map. But it'll drop a lot of the juice that you need for crafting. If the monster is orange or brown, that means it's one of the 3 unique monsters, and it can drop the fragment you need to fight Oshabi and a lot of juice. The monsters in this mechanic can be really tough, and you can easily die. So you will need a decent build to fight this, especially at high levels. I usually don't like Harvest at like white and yellow maps, and usually something I prefer specializing into at red maps. I very often will skip this mechanic except for the very first 2 or 3 days unless I've specialized into it. It does take quite a lot of time, and without specializing you'll get very little of the crafting juice. B or C tier without specializing, and A tier plus with specializing. Heist is the Marmite of Path of Exile. You either hate it or you love it. Rogue coins are required to interact with the mechanic, and you will need contracts or blueprints for grand heists. Extremely deep, very separate mechanic, and we do have a separate video on this, so you can heist all day without ever mapping. The rogues require gearing and leveling, which is a bit of a polarizing topic, but it is extremely profitable for raw currency and replica uniques. The Simplex Amulet and Helical Rings are huge big ticket items, but you will have to learn how this works. Now that being said, there is nothing on the tree that you can invest in that will actually help your heists. There are only things you can invest in that will help you find more contracts and more rogue markers, which you can already buy off other players. However, if you're a mapper, this can be good to invest into to just be able to sell rogue markers as passive income and the contracts and blueprints to other players that are actually running them. The people that are specializing into heist usually, well, they don't care about their atlas at all and are just staying in heist all day, buying everything they need off other players. Extremely profitable mechanic. Incursion allows you to travel into the past, and your decisions alter the present state of the temple and will give you rewards. Incursion adds a lot of monsters, and it might take some time getting used to doing it smoothly because you need to navigate the room and pick the correct Val Architect. Basically, the thing in the top right corner will get upgraded, or if you do the bottom left corner, that'll change what the room is. The main thing we're looking for here is Corruption Chamber, which will upgrade into a Locus of Corruption, which will double corrupt an item. And you can sell these, and especially if there is a big demand with a lot of people trying to double corrupt maybe a cheap, very useful unique, these can go all the way up to 200 kiosks, and honestly you can make 3 or 4 of these per hour once you get the hang of it. So this can be pretty decent and consistent profit, but it has a very, very high, low ceiling, right? You're not going to get like millions of currency doing this. So pretty B or C tier, it's good consistent profit, does not require a strong character, and you can do this at tier 1 maps. Legion is a gold benchmark for builds with the best map clearing speed. Activating this will spawn a large amount of monsters, and you need to break them twice basically. First to break them out of their shell, and then another time to kill them. Once you gather enough splinters, you can access the domain of endless conflict, and you can here do a 2-way, 3-way, 4-way, or a 5-way, and we have even more in-game things called relentless emblems. These can drop Legion jewels, which will alter your skill tree, and they will drop the ones related to the one you're killing. So if you have a red and a orange emblem, those are the Legion jewels that can drop. Decent farmable mechanic. You can either specialize into this with things like emblematic on the skill tree to be able to get emblems to sell to people or to run yourself, but a lot of the people that are like fully with headhunter builds running Legion are just buying emblems off other players. Ritual. It is very overtuned right now. It has already been nerfed once in 3.25. It is still very dangerous. They decided to add affliction monsters and bosses to the actual rituals. I have currently, as a hardcore player, blocked this on all of my skill trees, and it is just very dangerous. The reward itself of Ritual is incredibly spiky. I feel like on average, it is generally not very worth it. This is my least favorite league mechanic even after the buffs. Can have really big rewards like synthesized items and fractured items, but these are so far and few between that I generally never recommend this. I am open to changing my mind on this if it starts becoming a little bit more consistent profit, but right now I would say steer clear of this league mechanic. Synthesis, which was a big league, is now only in the game as the unique maps for like Twisted, etc. and Cortex at the endgame, and is not really accessible as a map mechanic other than the fractured gear that we can get. Next up we have Torment. These are pretty annoying ghosts that possess monsters for extra rewards. They're not super notable outside of very high investment strategies, and they're kinda useless by themselves. Pretty F tier for beginners, and outside of like niche strategies, they are generally just whatever. Ultimatum. A red man comes in, offers you rewards in exchange for difficult challenges inside his circle. It requires a very strong build with very good like ailment immunities, block or evasion, etc. It can be very good if you invest highly into it, but it's pretty spiky and not consistent. It is F tier for investments, and I would not do this at all if you do not invest into it.
Ultimatum! Ha! Temptation for the fool! Feel his power! My service.
So I hope that helps. Let me know what you think of this type of modular video. I kind of want to make a beginner guide for Path of Exile like this as well, that is modular, and we re-upload it every single league, and we keep updated the sections that need changing, and we don't on the things that, well, don't need changing. So thanks for watching. Some of you liked the video, but more importantly, try to die less than I do.